This is the Ball Talk Podcast, presented by Nachos and Analysis.
What's going on, Tiger fans? Today is Thursday, April 27th, and welcome to the 13th episode of the Ball Talk Podcast, presented by Nachos and Analysis. I'm your host, Drew Archer, and let's talk some ball. It was another big weekend for both the ladies and the fellas on the diamond. Softball and baseball leave the weekend with sweeps on their schedule there. The ladies beat Pitt 3-0. The fellas beat NC State 3-0. So softball moves to 44-5 on the season. Like we said, they swept Pitt and moved to 17-4 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The Tigers played their final home game of the regular season Sunday. It was also senior day. They moved to 25-3 at McWhorter Stadium this year. Those 3 losses coming to Florida State. So that home field advantage at McWhorter Stadium proves yet again this season. It's hard to believe that a regular season is just about over. The ladies got one more weekend series left. As I'm recording this on Wednesday, it's 4:30. They're about to have first pitch at 5 o'clock for their final midweek game this season. So by the time this airs, just 3 more games for the regular season for the Tigers. Now, the ladies are finishing up a week earlier than many other Atlantic Coast Conference opponents. They have exams coming up. So this weekend, final weekend. So it'll be a big weekend. We'll talk about it coming up here in a minute, but getting those final 3 wins, because they will be sitting idle that last week. They're just a few games back behind Florida State. And in fact, Clemson is second in the ACC, 2 games behind Florida State. Florida State does hold that tiebreaker due to the 3-game sweep at McWhorter Stadium earlier this year. Florida State still has 2 weeks left. They are at Notre Dame this weekend, and then will host Louisville. So a big weekend to finish strong and sit back, get an extra week of rest before going into the ACC tournament. That should be an advantage for the Tigers. Rest those bumps and bruises. Get some time to just for that much needed rest. It's a long season. I know it went by quick, but it is a long season playing day in, day out. These ladies were playing 5 games, sometimes a week. So great regular season so far. Just got to finish strong. Then the fellas, they moved to 26-16. The Tigers get to 500 in conference. They're 9-9 in the ACC after sweeping NC State this past weekend. The Tigers are also in sole possession of 4th place in the Atlantic Division. They're 2 games behind Notre Dame, who they defeated 2-1 last weekend, and then 3 games back from their 2nd place opponent, which is Boston College, who we will see this weekend. So a big opportunity coming up this weekend for both the fellas and the ladies. Both will be on the road. Weather might be an issue up in Boston for the baseball team. It's a little chilly. There's some rain in the forecast, so we'll look at both of those matchups coming up here soon. But first, let's talk some softball. The ladies do it yet again with another conference sweep. They defeat the Pitt Panthers, who came to town for the final home series of the regular season for the Tigers. They defeat Pitt 3-2 Friday night, 2-0 Saturday, and then they rule the Panthers 11-2 on Sunday. Going back, I don't know if I misspoke there, but Saturday was 2-0, Sunday 11-2 in 6 innings there. So Friday and Saturday, it was tough going for the offense. I think since that Florida State series, teams have kind of figured out how to pitch to this team, because runs were hard to come by in these first two games. We'll talk about Saturday in a minute, but the whole reason they won that game was a 2-run homer early in the game, and it came down to the final at bat for a walk-off to win Friday night. So Friday night, Clemson's batters combined for 9 hits, led by Miklish. She went 2 for 3. Mackenzie Clark and Cagle also tallied 2 hits. Aaliyah Logaleo, Maddie Moore, and Hyatt each had an RBI in this game. The game was won on a bases-loaded walk-off bunt by JoJo Hyatt. That was a gutsy call. It paid off for the Tigers. They won. It was a tie ball game at the time, but a walk-off, bases-loaded walk-off bunt. It got me excited. I hopped. We were watching this from the house. Had some friends over. We were doing the split screen, one TV on baseball, one TV on softball, and it was getting down to the end there, and we muted the baseball game, turned the sound on the softball game, and won in crazy fashion there with that walk-off bunt. Cagle earned the win. It was she did 7 innings. She struck out 4 and improved to 21-3 on the year. My sister was one of the folks over watching this past weekend. She had not really watched any softball ever. And watching Cagle Friday night, she was like, good gosh, this girl is amazing. And this is coming from someone who watches little to no softball, and it's that recognizable. So Cagle continues to do it in the circle there. Keeps the strikeouts going, keeping the runs down. And the Tigers get out with a victory 3-2 Friday night. They turn around with not a lot of turnaround. I believe this game Saturday might have been at noon, if I'm not mistaken. Mackenzie Clark, her 2-run homer in the bottom of the 3rd inning was the difference in this game. Davenport walked, and then the very next pitch, Clark sent it out to left field to help seal the victory for the game. Still another ACC series victory. So not a lot of offense other than that home run there. Thompson was in the circle. She completed her 7th complete game of the season. Striking out 5, she improved to 13-1 after earning her 5th solo shutout of the season. Then Sunday, the Tigers figured out the bats. Pitching was not going to hold this offense back. The Tigers win in 6 innings, 11-2. The Tigers out-hit the Panthers 10-4, led by Moore, who went 3 for 3. Miklish and Jacobson each scored 3 runs in this contest. Logaleo clinched the run rule win after a 3-run homer left the field in the 6th inning. Cagle improves to 22-3 on the year after pinching her 17th complete game through her 6 innings of work. She struck out 5 batters. Then the Tigers hit the road for their final midweek game of the year, which is currently going on as I'm recording this. So don't really have a score update here for obvious reasons. It is their final midweek. Clemson went 2-0 or 10-0. I feel like I'm just fumbling over my words with all these numbers. The Tigers went 10-0 this season in midweek games. So have not lost a game, and hopefully not jinxing it here, but finished the season 11-0 in those midweek games. Coming up, they got a big matchup with a ranked opponent. They travel to Virginia Tech to face the 24th nationally ranked team. Virginia Tech is 5th in the ACC, or 5th in the Atlantic Division, or 5th in the ACC total. Let's see. I just feel like I am not jiving today. Y'all forgive me here. But 5th in the ACC. Currently, they're playing Florida. Prior to that game, though, they are 33-16 on the season. This will be, like we mentioned, Clemson's last weekend series of the season. The first game will be Friday at 6 o'clock. Second game Saturday at 2 p.m. Sunday at noon. All 3 games will be on ACC Network Extra. So a big opportunity for the ladies to finish strong. It's been a crazy season with a lot of ups, very few downs. And it's a good way for you're not in the driver's seat right now. You can only do what's in front of you. The Tigers have 3 games, 4, including the midweek game that's currently going on. They're in the driver's seat. They can take care of business in those 4 games. However, next week they'll be sitting on the couch, and it is up to what happens this weekend and next weekend with Florida State to see how it shakes out with seeding for the ACC tournament. As of now, Clemson is 2nd seed behind Florida State. I kind of posted on Twitter that Clemson's pretty much going to lock in that 2nd seed. Someone did point out, yes, there's still a chance to finish first. Based on what I've seen out of Florida State this year, I am not hopeful. I think the Seminoles will take care of business. Not saying they're going to go undefeated over these next 2 weeks, but regardless, a number 2 seed is still putting the Tigers in a good spot. They get a first-round bye with a manageable opponent in round 2. The seeding is escaping me. I can't remember exactly who they would play if they were a 2 seed in the 2nd round. But a lot of softball still left to play. Regional seeding is on the line. So wins this weekend are important. A good showing in the ACC tournament are important because I don't want last Sunday's victory against Pitt to be the last time we get to watch softball in McWhorter Stadium this year. All right. Right now, everybody's predicting Clemson to be a regional host, but they still got to take care of business and finish strong. And if they do, we'll get to go back out to McWhorter Stadium a couple more times to watch Clemson softball. All right, poll of the week. Reminder, the only way to participate in this poll is to follow Nachos and Analysis on Twitter. So if you don't do so, hit us a follow on Twitter. And while you're at it, subscribe, like our videos on YouTube. Still trying to figure out YouTube. The analytics on that are weird. Haven't quite figured out the algorithm there. We followed up the largest number of views 2 weeks ago with the lowest number of views for an episode last week. So still trying to figure out this algorithm here. But regardless, get your voice heard. Follow us on all our platforms. Let your voice be heard. If you got comments, let us know. We'll be happy to read them and discuss them here on the show. So this week's poll, the baseball regular season winds down in less than 1 month. What chance do you give Clemson to make a regional? All right, so around 3 weeks left, 3.5 weeks left in the regular season for baseball. Clemson is set up nicely right now with how they have been playing. Some projections came out from some outlets this week. Baseball America currently has Clemson projected as one of the first 4 out of the tournament right now. And then a vastly different projection from D1 Baseball has Clemson as a 2 seed in the Conway Regional. Me personally, I like that second one there, a 2 seed in the Conway Regional. Not only because it's a 2 seed, but also I am happy to play in the Conway Regional. The Tigers have already faced Coastal once this season and won. They got one more matchup coming up here soon. And the Tigers have fared well against the Chanticleers. So that is a nice spot for Clemson, in my opinion. But still have 3 weeks left on the schedule. The options in this poll were to the question, what odds or what chance do you give Clemson at making a regional? The options were less than 25%, more than 25%, more than 50%, and more than 75%. Your outliers here, the less than 25% crowd, that was 11% of the vote. And on the total opposite end of the spectrum, 21% of folks say that that Clemson has a 75% chance of making a regional. Where most of the votes fell were more than 25% and more than 50%. 38% with most of the votes said Clemson has greater than a 25% chance. 30% say that Clemson has more than a 50% chance. So you got about 68% of the vote right there in that 25 to 30% or 25 to 50%. My thought is I love these projections. A 2 seed in Conway. I don't like the first 4 out, but I think fans need to pump the brakes a little bit. This team is peaking at the right time. They had their first sweep in conference play since the last conference series last year. So it was a big weekend for the Tigers. They're winning at the right time. They are putting wins together. Everybody seems to have a defined role now. You're starting to see a lot of production, and that's exactly what you want. But Tigers go on the road to face a top 15 team this weekend, and their remaining opponents are nothing to shake a stick at. All right, and are possibly better than Clemson. So you still have to continue to win. You have to. There's no midweek game coming up next week, but you have to win your remaining midweek games. So still a lot of baseball left to play, but right now, where the Tigers are at, there's no reason. It couldn't be happier. It is fun to watch Clemson baseball right now. So thank you to everybody who participated. We had a couple comments. Let me pull it up here on the poll. Casey from the Slogo podcast, he gets in. He said a regional berth would be a huge victory in year one, especially after how we started. Have to win a couple of these series against good opponents coming up, but the future is bright either way. Greg Beasley Jr. gets in and says, keep playing like this and buckle up. It's going to be fun. Go Tigers. And Peter Marvin gets in. We are getting hot at the right time. Some of our opponents are cooling off. I don't think we'll go anywhere when we make a regional, but I think we will sneak in as a 3 seed and upset someone before getting bounced. Thank you to the fellas that got in with their comments. And I agree. Do I see Clemson getting out of a regional? No. But I think taking that first step in year one under Coach Bakich, getting back to a regional is an important step. Like one of them mentioned, especially how this team started. So it makes you want to have some of those games back. If you had 1 or 2 of those games that the Tigers were in back, that you could have pulled out a victory, I'm thinking specifically the Saturday game in Greenville against South Carolina, the Saturday and Sunday game at home against Wake Forest. Had you won 1 or 2 of those games, the Tigers would be sitting a lot better right now. But that is the past. They got a lot in front of them. So a very important next few weeks for the Tigers on the baseball diamond. Before we get into Clemson baseball, we got to shout out our sponsor, Pump Monkey Septic Service. Owned and operated by Clemson alumni Alan Powell, servicing the upstate here. They have built quite the reputation for doing what a lot of these other septic services won't do. You can't call these random septic companies to show up at your house Saturday. They're not going to do it. Pump Monkey will. This company was started based out of necessity. Alan had an issue, needed it taken care of, called someone, was told they couldn't get out there for a few weeks. He realized there was a demand and he wanted to fill that void. So check out Pump Monkey Septic Service. Find them on Facebook and Instagram. You can also reach them via text or phone call at 864-710-2330. 2211. Again, 864-710-2211. When the dump's funky, call Pump Monkey. Clemson wins its third consecutive ACC series of the season and gets its first sweep since sweeping Georgia State. I believe that was back in March. It's their first conference sweep since the final season of the final series of the regular season last year. So, a huge victory for the baseball team, not only to get the sweep, but to go on the road and get the sweep as well. The Tigers put up a lot of runs this week, scored 10 Friday night, 9 Saturday, and 8 on Sunday. And they didn't hold back in their midweek game against Kennesaw State, put up 15 there as well. So the bats are going. The Tigers are hitting the right stride at the right moment. A lot of teams will find themselves peaking earlier in the year against lesser competition. You saw that with this team last year. I believe they started the season, 24-0 or something like that. But this team is putting wins together when it matters. So Friday night, the Tigers beat the Wolfpack 10-2 in Raleigh. The Tigers were led by Billy Amick, who went 4 for 5 with 2 home runs, a double, and 5 RBIs. Engel extended his hit streak in this game to 10, and then went on to hit every single game since then. So he is up to 13-game hit streak right now. In Friday's game, he had 2 home runs, or had a 2-run homer in the top of the third, and it was his 5th of the season. Darden, who is 3-2 on the season, earned the win by matching his career high for innings pitched. He gave up 8 hits, but only 1 run, no walks, and 3 strikeouts Friday night to get the ball rolling early with this team. The Tigers have struggled Friday night or game ones of series as of late, so it was good to get a win to start off there. Saturday with a little bit closer of a matchup, Tigers win 9-7 with 2 outs and a 1-2 count. Caden Grice hit an 8th-inning grand slam that gave the Tigers a lead and clinched the 3rd conference series win for the Tigers. NC State had 2 big innings. They scored 3 runs in both the 4th and the 6th. But Clemson responded with a run in the 7th off an Amick RBI single before Grice put the nail in the coffin with the grand slam in the 8th. Reed Garrison, 3-0 on the season, earned the win here, while Ryan Ammons pitched 2 innings to record his first save of the year. I believe this is the second time. It's at least the second time we've seen Ammons since coming off that injury, so it's good to see him get back out there and throw some meaningful pitches there, 2 full innings. Then Sunday, Clemson scored 5 runs in the 3rd inning and total 15 hits in the game to earn its first conference series sweep since sweeping Boston College in the final series last year, which is almost a full calendar year ago, 11 months. And it's the first time sweeping NC State since 2010, so it's been 13 years since the Tigers were able to do that to the Wolfpack. Was not Grice's best outing on the mound this weekend. He is 3-1 on the season, but he did earn the win by pitching 6 effective innings. He gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. Gave up 2 walks with a career high tying 8 strikeouts though. So a lot of big numbers there, but still 8 strikeouts. Tristan Smith pitched the 9th inning to record his 2nd save of the year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the offense did not stop in the midweek, and they returned to Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Clemson defeats Kennesaw State 15-5 in a 7-inning run rule game. Watched this one from the couch. I was a little concerned early. It was 0-0, get up. We had some family over, fixed some food, got up to go get some enchiladas, came back to the dining room, and Tigers were down 3-0. So a big bounce back. Clemson scored 13 unanswered runs in the 15-5 victory over the Owls in front of a very sparse crowd. So I was not the only one that decided not to go. There was a little bit of rain in the forecast. It was chilly. But nonetheless, the Tigers get the victory there. Every single Tiger starter scored at least 1 run and had at least 1 hit as the Tigers totaled 17 hits on the game. Reliever Ty Olenchuk earned the win, pitching 2 2/3 scoreless innings with 1 strikeout. He is now 1-0 on the season. So, a big weekend on the baseball diamond. Another crucial weekend coming up as the Tigers travel to Boston to take on the 11th ranked Eagles. They will play Friday night at 5:30, Saturday night at 2 o'clock, and Sunday at 1. All 3 games will be on the ACC Network Extra. They're currently playing UMass Lowell, but prior to that matchup, they have a 27-12 record. They're 12-9 in the conference. BC was swept by Louisville, who's currently ranked 21. That is Clemson's next weekend series opponent. And talk about catching teams at the right time. The Eagles are 4-3 in their last 7 games. So one thing that I will say about this Boston College team, they are not the most talented team that the Tigers have faced this year. They're the most veteran, though. So where they lack in talent and skill, they make up for it in older guys, veteran guys who've played a lot of baseball together. So this isn't a series where you're playing a Wake Forest or a South Carolina. You have an opportunity on the road to go up and steal a couple wins and move up in the Atlantic Division charts here. So this is a big, important weekend. The Tigers have got to keep the ball rolling if they want to make a splash in the postseason. So really big weekend. Looking forward to it. They don't have a midweek game next week, so they're getting a full week off with exams before they face Louisville next weekend. So a little bit of rest and a little bit of studying. But before we get to that point, I think it would be huge for Clemson to leave Boston Sunday with 2 wins. I think it's doable. I think it'll be tough. This team will have to battle through some adversity. You got to keep the bats going. But like we've seen, even in games where we're losing, whether it's to a comparable opponent or a much better opponent, this team hangs around and has an opportunity to win in just about every contest. So this should be a really good series. I know Boston College does not want to see Clemson right now. So as we mentioned at the top, weather could be an issue, so there might be some game time changes, that sort of thing. So be on the lookout for that, but support the Tigers. Sit down, watch this game. It's going to be fun, or these games. They're going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I don't think I have much going on this weekend. The only plans I have are to watch Clemson baseball and Clemson softball. So big weekend. Look forward to wrapping it up and talking about it next week. The ladies, as we mentioned, their final regular season series of the season, and a huge series here with Boston College for the baseball team. Both teams are going to be traveling and facing ranked opponents. Should be fun. So join me next week, and we'll talk some ball. Peace.